Well, I think we have the parties we need for the first couple of topics, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Some infrastructure issues, and I believe Gabriel, that first one is probably yours.
Yes. Um, that's kind of related to the SD core as well. So some time ago, the Dependabot opened up a security issue on the different network functions, the repositories. And that is related to the version that we are using for JWT for Go. Um, and there was no solution for that. So last week, sorry, I had some time to kind of take a closer look into that. And the issue is basically in the dependency itself, we're using an old dependency and it wasn't directly updated using Dependabot because the format of the dependency changed. So before it was just JWT-go, now is JWT-go slash whatever version we want to use. So we move this issue comes from the OpenAPI module. So the issue got fixed on the OpenAPI module, and we moved to the latest version to /v5. So the issue is gone on the OpenAPI, and now we need to replicate on the different network functions. The only network function that actually has this issue, because that's the only one that uses that specific component, is the NRF. The issue also shows up in the other network functions, but the only reason is because it is imported there, but it's not actually being used. So we already created a new patch version for the OpenAPI, and now yesterday we opened a PR for the NRF, basically to fix this issue. And that's when basically we saw this the GitHub action is complaining that the token has a unauthorized access and insufficient scopes. And that's why I opened the PR for the request on Jira for the infrastructure side. So I understand that Eric is already taking a look into that.
Okay,
Yeah,
just to
working on
make
that
sure
right
I'm
now.
following along here. You have a GitHub token issue under infrastructure. You're setting the backstage for it under the SD core as to why this became a blocker.
Yep.
All right, so is this something you've opened a ticket with Eric or with
Yep.
Ella?
With Eric. So there is the request there, the third bullet in the issue. That's basically the ticket that is open.
Eric, do you have any update on this or insight?
I'm not at the moment. I'm working on it right now. It seems to be an issue with the GitHub token, but yeah, there's no obvious reason that it's not working. Like the token hasn't changed, the scope hasn't changed. It's authorized on that repo, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm kind of like the main difference that I see between this and the last successful build is the like possibly the versions of the actions are different. Like I know the Docker login action changed. So kind of looking into that to see if possibly something's affecting it there because it doesn't really seem like there's any good reason for it to not be working still. But yeah,
Yeah, I
so it
don't.
wasn't anything super obvious, so I'm just
We have to dig
doing more
deeper.
tests trying to figure it out.
Right. As Eric mentioned, the token has been working fine. I mean, the last time that we pushed images was about a month ago. So nothing should have changed on the token itself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I checked it didn't expire or anything. Everything looks fine.
Okay, I guess everyone's aware of it and working on it, so mystery. Anything else to talk about on that? Okay. The other infrastructure issue was one that I added. I've been trying to untangle any old dependencies we have on ONF infrastructure. And the one place that we are still depending on ONF's crowd server is to authenticate users to Jenkins, which is not a lot of people that affects. It'd be good to break that dependency. The option that Eric suggests is to use LF's single sign-on machinery and same thing that you would log in to, to get to here. So that seems like a reasonable option. My main question is, how do we moderate access? So Jenkins will recognize a set of groups. I assume you would recreate those groups as attributes of users inside of the LF system.
That's correct.
The question is, if we needed to make changes to that, how do, say, as a TST member or whatever, I want to add somebody, how do I go about doing that? Would that have to be a ticket through you?
Yeah, yeah. Adding and removing users from various groups would just be a support ticket.
Okay. Anyone have thoughts on this? Does it sound okay?
Makes sense, yeah.
Okay. I would like to, not only do we have this dependency on ONF, but as a consequence, there's unknown numbers of people out there who have access that we didn't really intend for them because they inherited from long ago. So I'll work with Eric to set this up. What I'm thinking is I'll give the TST full access, and then other users we can add over time, depending on, what they're doing. And those of you that already have the ability to write and modify jobs, we'll figure out a way to retain that. So Eric, I'll take that offline. We'll just reuse the tickets that's already ongoing and adjust it to move to this solution. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Larry, one kind of common question regarding this access permissions. A while ago, Sean was working with you, I believe, on the different groups that we have in the OMEC project, well, in the different Ether repositories. The read access, write access, and so on.
Mhm.
Did we conclude on something on that side?
So that's a separate issue, but yeah, that's all under the control of GitHub. And I would just put it to each, OMEC project, ONOS, and Open Networking Lab to continue to improve those over time as you figure out what's going on. I don't know how to make that a systematic Ether-wide thing. But yeah, if you see places where people are long gone, clean up the groups.
Yeah,
You should already have permission to do that.
yeah, no, yes. So in my case, I was kind of primarily thinking on removing everything that is read mode, because since the repositories are public, so there is no really need to have a read group only, read groups. There's no need to have this such a
Yeah,
group.
that
Is
makes
there
sense. There
already
was a
public?
time that some of these were not publicly readable, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking just starting with that cleanup so we have less groups in there.
So I'm just going to continue to clean up GitHub. I don't know, access permissions. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's just something that's done on per org.
Okay.
Okay, the last bullet, I just wanted to confirm that we are now done with the GitHub actions on the ONOS project.
One comment or question there, Eric, do you get a chance to kind of test the GitHub client to see if it works?
There's an issue I need to fix where, let's see, it was using main instead of master. And, so I need to clean that up and retest it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's mostly done.
Oh, okay. No, no, I'm asking you because if you are able to kind of make the GH command work, that is something that we could use also in the OMIC project organization.
Hmm.
Because at the time when we tried to use the GH client, it didn't work. So that's why we fell back into the GitHub API. Um, but yeah, so that's the reason why I'm asking. So if it is working, we can just integrate the same solution into the Omit project GitHub Actions.
Yeah, once I confirm that it's working the way it should, I'll open a change on the OMIC project side too.
Cool, great, thank you.
Hmm.
Okay. Any other infrastructure related topics? All right, looking for Wu Xiong, who I do not see.
Oh, he said he's not going to be able to join. He sent a message through Slack.
Oh, I hadn't seen that yet. All right, so he
Yeah.
wanted to talk about this. We will have to postpone it till he can make it. All right, then SD core, I think we're done because you already talked about this, right?
Right. Yeah, but well, besides that, we also merged several PRs from the Dependabot PRs where dependencies were updated to newer versions. So that's already merged. We have two PRs that are under review. One from Suresh, where we made when he made several improvements from the metric funk. I just kind of provide some feedback, and we are waiting on the issue with the token to get fixed because we need to also create a new Docker image for that one. Yeah, so Gislan also mentioned that he's not going to be able to join because I believe he's out of the country, and Ajay also sent a message saying that he's not going to be able to join. So there is no further updates on this.
Okay, so we're a little TST thin today.
Yep.
Does anyone else have anything to bring up or add?
Yeah, so this ETA.
Yep.
Yeah, so both Joshua and I are working on the blueprint, like Aether Ether project blueprint. Joshua already finished his blueprint for the SD core, and I'm trying to prepare the blueprint for the SD run, what with the 1.5 version. Yeah, I just have one question about: do we have any tutorial or guide for the 1.5 version of SD run?
I'm sorry, do we have any what?
Tutorial or guide. Yeah, I think
No,
most of the materials right now is for 1.4.
I don't know that there's any 1.5 material like that. There was a webinar introducing the upgrade, the changes to 1.5, but I don't know that that's going to be sufficient.
Yeah, I was in the Technar. Yeah, it's more talking about new features.
Yeah. I don't know that there is.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I can try to figure out by myself. It's not a big problem.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hey, hi, Larry and Gabriel. I have one, issue. So I'll just brief, about the issue, and then we can, if you need any other information, I'll share that information. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we are using, Ether in a box for last 2 years. Okay. We have deployed it in Ubuntu 20, and everything is working fine. We have just modified, as per our need, and we have added some features. Okay, for Monogo to customer. Now, what recently we have migrated to Ubuntu 22. Okay, and what happens, like what we have observed is, like if everything is coming up, everything is working fine, but on few machines, sometime after reboot, the UPF pod remains in the pod initializing state. Okay, and there is no error as such in the describe pod or anything, right? So I have been talking to Suresh on this particular issue. So he suggested few things, and I tried those things, but still no luck. So just wanted to know, if you have something known in this particular, like Ubuntu 22 with our UPF, or because we haven't seen this issue in Ubuntu 20 for last 2 years.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so I have talked to Suresh about this, and he mentioned about that. He suggested a couple things as well, but nothing. I mean, when we move, right now we are even using Ubuntu 24. So the only kind of significant thing that has been different from Ether in a box, at least when we used to use Ether in a box in Ubuntu 20 and Ubuntu 22, the only thing that we need to do is to increase the size for the wmin and the, what is the other one? And I think it's rmem. So a couple parameters from the file system on Linux.
user watches and user instances, are those the parameters?
That, yeah, I just let me double check. I can quickly look in my notes.
Uh,
So that
Suresh
was kind of
sent me this set of params. So I'm
right,
just
right.
testing it here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so those that's kind of the relevant part that we have when we move from Ubuntu 20 to Ubuntu 22 on Ether in a box, and now that we're using Ether on ramp, those two changes are already embedded as part of the Ansible tasks. Let me see if I find it. Yeah, but besides that, based on what I have talked to Suresh, there is nothing really out of the ordinary that we have to make, at least here. And have you, I guess, based on what I have talked to him, is you guys have kind of like validated that the resources are free, and there is enough resources for the UPF to kind of try to come up
Right.
and things, right?
Correct.
Uh,
And we have one observation, like whenever we see this problem or this issue, these two particular lines are getting printed in base D logs. Okay. So I pasted in chat. So this
mhm,
is the only thing we see in the logs. Otherwise, everything looks, similar to the working and non-working setup. There is
mhm.
absolutely no indication of or no error apart from these two lines.
Let me
And
check.
we have traced this basically log source, and it comes from initializing IP lookup table, and that's done from I guess UPF, basically the Python script when we initialize the base framework.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Those are the only things that come to my mind. Let me see if in the Ether I cannot find my notes. Ether 5G. I know that. The first thing, the router tasks. I cannot find. Yeah, so in on-ramp, yeah, so those are the two parameters that you have there. That's what we used to do for uh, the user watch and the user instances. Are those, how are you setting those? Like as a configuration file or just as a parameter from the command line?
No, I'm doing it permanent by editing the file and then restarting the
Oh, okay. So
system.
they are basically they are permanent. So they kind of are persistent across
Persistent
reboots.
across
Gotcha.
reboot. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So uh, yeah, it's the same things that we're using at the moment for. I just share a link with you with what is happening with the Ether on ramp. Yeah, it's the same user watch, user instances. Uh, the only thing that I see on top of that is this file max. But besides that, I haven't seen anything. I don't know whether can try to take a closer look with sync up with Suresh one more time and see does he have access to your system or how you guys have been debugging this issue?
So I mean, what we do is like we are trying to reproduce this issue on 2 3 machines. So on one of the machines it gets reproduced quickly, but on the other, like after 5 to 10 reboots, on some machine it takes around 150 reboots or sometime 100 reboots. So that is like the frequency of occurrence is very less, but still it is there. So
Mhm.
so it's intermittent
Okay,
issue. It's not like always coming. So maybe it is something related to the cleanup or something is there, or so
right.
we are not able to catch it. So,
Uh,
Yeah.
Could I
Anil,
interrupt for just a second? Point of order on the meeting. I think we're in a debugging session that is probably not of deep interest to everyone else. I think we're done with the agenda, so why don't we end the meeting and you can continue this for a little longer if you want to do that.
Yeah. Alim, then let me sync up then with Suresh one more time to see what is the latest status of. I think we talked about this last week with him, and then we can try to kind of have an additional debugging session between you guys, Suresh and myself, and see where we can come up with some type of figure out what the actual issue is in here.
yeah, sure, that will be good.
Okay, thank
Mhm.
you. Is there
Yeah.
anything else
No, no, thanks.
on the overall agenda? Anything else?
I look like Gujon is here.
Hello. Sorry for late.
Oh, all right. Well, good. Let's jump back to SD-WAN and spend a few minutes there.
Yeah, sorry. I'm in a lot of meeting as a
Yeah.
new hire here. So yeah, sorry
Yeah, no,
sorry
no
about
problem.
that. Yeah. So currently, actually I just got an approval from my manager that I can start working on SDN as a side work. So that is the good news. And
Great news.
yeah, and then I just started I just resumed SD-RAM project again. So for that, basically, the major goal for the 1.6 release is updating E2T and API and E2SM. So currently, all of them are working in very legacy code, and E2T actually is also really tightly coupled with Atomics, which I would like to decouple with some other open source database like Redis or some other database. So I would like to redesign all of them, and I will start the design discussion with engineering team this Thursday. So probably I think I can give some design draft for E2T API, well, E2T and E2SM especially, probably next week or so. So I will share it with all of you for that. And also 1.6 release scope, like I mentioned, I just restarted the SD-RAN effort. So I will list it up this Thursday also for the 1.6 release scope. Basically, the target date for the 1.6 release it was about August, but probably I think a little bit delayed, like October. But anyhow, the scope will be defined probably this week, and then also that will be shared to all of you as well.
So on the atomics dependency, we had a little brief discussion on that a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
Is your idea that you would keep the atomics API but replace the database underneath?
Well, I also would like to replace the Atomics API as well. So
Okay.
basically, in E2T side, basically it has some reconciliation logic there, but that is only working with Atomics API. So I would like to replace that into some other database and the new API.
Okay, that's interesting. Good. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you have permission to work on this. That's great news. There was a question a minute ago about a couple minutes ago about a tutorial on the 1.5 release. Do we want to revisit that?
1.5 release tutorial for Blueprint, you mean?
No, 1.5 tutorial. Tiani was asking about it.
Yeah, so actually what I'm looking for is some like a guide for installation.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, I think most of the material is for 1.4.
In the document. Oh, let me double check. I will get you back. Probably I think some documentations are missing there. So let me check it with engineering team. And if there is something missing part, I will let you know.
Okay, yeah, I do send you an email. So if you
Yeah,
can
please.
reply that email, that would be
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
all.
Bye.